Say yes. Recording started.
And then she'll do her intro, then you just click on the recording when you're done.
And there it is, and then stop it. Stop. Good evening, everyone. This is Anna Gilmore Hall, Executive Director of the Hearing Loss Association of America, and I am delighted that you'll be with us for the next hour. I want to welcome you to a new series of webinars that HLAA is sponsoring. These webinars are designed to showcase products and services that companies and sponsors are interested in introducing to our members. Please check our schedule on our website for lots of information about these upcoming webinars. And these webinars will be in addition to the normal education webinars that we continue to offer. The thing that I do think is important for everyone to understand is the products and services webinars are in no way to be construed as an endorsement by HLAA. We do not endorse one product over another, nor one technology over another. These webinars are designed to bring you information from the manufacturers and product designers about new products or services coming to the market. Tonight's webinar will be conducted by Aimee Gross, who is a Clinical Education Manager for Med-El. She is a terrific speaker and has great information to share with us. I know you're going to find her presentation wonderful and we'll probably have lots of questions for her. But please hold your questions until the end of the webinar, and then write your questions in the chat section of the webinar site. We've muted all of the microphones except for Aimee's and mine, and so that's the only way that you'll be able to ask questions is by writing them in the chat room. And I promise we'll get to all the questions that people have on the webinar tonight. I also want to thank Jody Eckert from Alternative Communication Services, who is providing CART for us tonight. We are lucky to have such a skilled person with us. Now please be sure and click on the CC icon that's at the top of your screen right above, right beside the audio and visual section, just to make sure that you can see the captions. And I'm doing that right now to make sure that I can see. So Jody, I'm not seeing any captions at the moment. So I'm hoping that you're going to kick in here very quickly. I'm going to pause just for a moment because other people on the screen are also telling me that there are no captions. So we're going to try and see what our technical difficulties are. So please be patient and hang on for just another minute or two. Jody, we are still not seeing any captioning. Thanks. I see your note, Jody, that you're working on the problem. So thank you for doing that. Jody, can you hear us and can you begin captioning? Still no captions, Jody.
There you go.
Okay. I can hear you. Yes, yes. Okay, I think we have the caption back. I apologize for the slow start. So let me just repeat a couple of things that I was saying at the beginning. This is Anna Gilmore Hall, Executive Director of HLAA, and I'm delighted that you all are joining us for a new series of webinars that we are now offering here at HLAA. These webinars are different than the normal education webinars that we've been offering for the last couple of years. The purpose of this series of webinars is to showcase new products and services to our members that are being sponsored by different manufacturers and different product designers. I hope that you'll check our schedule on our website for upcoming webinars. The thing I want to make sure everyone understands is that the products and services webinars are in no way to be construed as an endorsement by HLAA. We do not endorse one product over another, nor one technology over another. But this is our way of bringing new information to you about products. Tonight's webinar will be conducted by Aimee Gross, who's Clinical Education Manager for MED-EL. She's a terrific speaker and has great information to share with us. I know you're going to find her presentation wonderful and will probably have lots of questions, but please hold your questions until the end of the webinar and then write your questions in the chat section of the webinar site. We've muted all of the microphones except for mine and Aimee's, so the only way that you'll be able to ask questions is by writing them in the little chat box. We'll get to all of the questions at the end of the webinar, I promise. I want to thank Jody Eckhart from Alternative Communication Services, who is providing CART tonight. We're lucky to have such a skilled person with us. Please be sure that you've clicked on the CC icon on the top of your screen to see the captions. And I know we had some little difficulty at the beginning, but I think we are back up, although there is one person who's just sent in a message that Pat has no picture, no captions, and no sound. So if so Pat, I'm going to send you a message. Hold on, everyone. I apologize. But I do think we're about ready to get started. So it is now my pleasure to introduce Aimee Gross, who's going to talk to us about a new product from MED-EL. Aimee, I'm turning this over to you.
Thanks so much, Anna. I'm really glad that you guys typed into the chat about the captioning. Please continue to do that if you have any technical difficulties with the slides or the audio or the closed captioning. And I'm really glad that we got that worked out for you. Thank you so much for Anna and Jody's excellent troubleshooting. And so now I think we're ready to get started. Welcome to tonight's webinar. I'd like to thank HLAA for this opportunity and each of you for your interest and attendance at tonight's webinar. As Anna mentioned, my name is Aimee Gross, and I'm currently the Clinical Education Manager for MED-EL Corporation. I am an audiologist, and I've worked with cochlear implants for over 15 years now. And tonight, I'd like to introduce our latest cochlear implant system. Our newest cochlear implant system is called the SYNCHRONY Cochlear Implant System, and it has a lot of new products and features and functions. For tonight, we'll focus on 3 areas that are of particular interest to potential candidates and cochlear implant users. We'll talk about the SYNCHRONY Cochlear Implant, the SONNET audio processor, and the WaterWear accessory for our RONDO single unit audio processor. So let's start with an overview of the SYNCHRONY Cochlear Implant. All cochlear implants include an internal part and an external part. The internal part is often called the implant, and The SYNCHRONY Cochlear Implant is the smallest titanium implant currently available. It also offers features for excellent MRI safety and has a secure internal magnet that can be removed if needed. And we also focus on making our electrodes atraumatic so that they cause as little damage as possible to the inner ear. This is just a diagram of the cochlear implant, and so some of the key parts are labeled here. The gold outer ring is the antenna coil, and that receives signals from the external equipment. The darker circle in the center is the internal magnet, and again, that can be removed if needed, and we'll talk about that more tonight. The part that you see over here that looks striped is the part of the electrode array that actually goes inside the inner ear. And each of those little dots that looks like a stripe is an electrode contact that stimulates the parts of the inner ear. The gray part at the bottom is called a stimulator, and that's because it takes the signal sent from the outside parts and tells the electrodes how to stimulate the inner ear. Then there's also a long part to the electrode array that leads to the inner ear, and that can actually be some extra length that is coiled up so that children and adults don't need a different size cochlear implant. The same implant is used for everyone. And then our electrode array is also reinforced for extra strength to protect all of those delicate wires inside the electrode array. Our cochlear implant system, the new design, the SYNCHRONY Cochlear Implant, is actually FDA approved for MRI scans at a magnet strength of 3.0 Tesla without a surgery to remove the internal magnet. This is currently the only implant that is approved for this, and we'll talk about what that means a little bit more. The SYNCHRONY has a brand new internal magnet design that can be scanned under the right conditions at 3.0 Tesla. That's a magnet strength. And the special internal magnet does not necessarily need to be removed for MRIs. It can remain in place, which means no extra surgery, and it is not going to be damaged or move at all during the MRI scan. So this can obviously make an MRI a lot more comfortable for the implant user if and when an implant is needed, or an MRI scan is needed. So MRIs are becoming a lot more common for diagnosing injuries and illness. And when we mention a Tesla, that is actually a measure of the MRI scanner's strength or the magnetic field. Most MRI scans today are performed at a magnet strength of 1.5 Tesla. 3.0 Tesla is a little bit stronger magnetic field or stronger magnet, which can make the scan a little clearer. And we feel it's highly likely that pretty much everyone will need an MRI scan at some point during their life to help doctors diagnose any injuries or illness that they might have. So I've also mentioned that this new internal magnet design we have in the SYNCHRONY Cochlear Implant can be removed, and that has to do with the potential for distortion in an MRI. So a magnet inside the head creates a little bit of distortion in the image, so it may be necessary to remove that internal magnet if the doctor needs to scan the head right around the area of the implant. So if this is necessary, MED-EL would of course provide the doctor with any support that they need, and we would also provide special tools to remove the magnet and a spacer that would go in place of the magnet if needed. This is an example of what that might look like. So we have two MRI images or scans here. The scan on the left is what it might look like if the magnet was still inside the implant. And you can see that it creates this sort of dark area on the image. And then the scan or image on the right shows what it would look like if that internal magnet was replaced with just the non-magnetic spacer that we provide. So you can see if what the doctor needed to see was right around the area of the implant, taking that magnet out could be really helpful, but it would only be necessary in those kinds of special cases. These are examples of MRI scans at 1.5 Tesla, and then the next slide will show 3.0 Tesla scans. And you might notice that they look a little bit crisper, a little bit clearer or sharper, and that's what the stronger magnet or the 3.0 Tesla does. So sometimes doctors or radiologists like that little bit stronger magnet, even though it's kind of newer and not the most common. But we gave examples here again of what it would look like with the magnet in the implant on the left, and it creates that sort of shaded region on the image. And then on the right, what it would look like if that magnet was taken out. Fortunately, again, the internal magnet is designed to actually stay in place in most MRI cases, and so it would only be an issue if the doctor wants to see right around the area of the implant. And that's that new special magnet design that we have in the Synchrony. I also mentioned that we try to have a very soft and flexible or atraumatic electrode array. It's very important to us that not only is the electrode soft and flexible enough that it can be inserted without damaging the inner ear, but it's also always been important to MED-EL that the electrode go as far into the inner ear or cochlea as possible. We want to stimulate as much of that inner ear as we can. So MED-EL has always had the longest electrode arrays, and we also work to have very soft and flexible electrodes so that they cause as little damage to the inner ear as possible. The slide shows the electrode arrays that are available with the Synchrony Cochlear implant. We provide a number of choices so that the surgeon can find an option that works best for each inner ear. Not every cochlea or inner ear is exactly the same shape or size, so we provide a number of options that will hopefully fit all of the different cochleas that the surgeon may find. Our latest electrodes are called the Flex electrodes, and these are actually our softest and most flexible electrode arrays. MED-EL electrodes have always included special wave-shaped wires that make the array really flexible. This means that it doesn't apply as much force to those delicate structures in the cochlea when it's inserted into the inner ear. Science and medicine are always advancing, so we think it's important to protect all those delicate parts of the inner ear for future technology, regardless of what may come along. I mentioned earlier that cochlear implants include an internal part and an external part. The external part of a cochlear implant is called a processor, and it's typically worn on the ear and or the head. MED-EL's newest processor is called the SONNET audio processor. The SONNET is water resistant. Some electronics have a special rating called an IP rating, and the SONNET IP rating is a 54, which means that it's splash proof or resistant to water being splashed on it from all directions. It also has a tamper-proof design that's really good for children in particular. The battery cover will lock into place, and when the battery cover is locked, the child cannot remove the battery cover or the batteries or the battery pack or the cable. So everything is kept locked together and in place. The SONNET also has a new durable coil cable design. The cables are always the weakest part of any cochlear implant, so we're constantly improving our cables so that they will be as strong as possible and last as long as possible. MED-EL offers a type of signal processing or sound coding that we call fine hearing, and this is of course available in the SONNET as our latest audio processor design. We also have an automatic volume control and a feature called data logging that helps your audiologist track how your SONNET is working and how you're using it. So that helps you communicate better with your audiologist and helps your audiologist fit the SONNET better for how you're using it. I will say that the fine structure coding strategies, or that fine hearing feature that I talked about, is not currently indicated for prelingual children in the USA. So that would be children who have not yet developed spoken language. The SONNET is very small and lightweight. It's very thin, so it's comfortable and small enough to wear behind the ear, even for those young children. We offer a number of color options for each of the different parts of the SONNET processor. So some patients like to pick colors that blend in with their hair color or their skin color, and other users like to pick bright colors that stand out. They may be really proud of their equipment, or they have a fun fashion style and they like to pick brighter colors. So we have all different kinds of options available. The SONNET processor also offers some great options for connecting to other devices. It has a built-in telecoil like many hearing aids so that you can connect to external devices without any wires. So that allows you to use induction loop systems and hearing aid compatible telephones. And all you would need to do for that is press a button on the remote control, which we're going to mention in just a minute. It also has a standard input jack that's used with a wide range of different audio cables and receivers for different external systems. So a lot of times if a user has an FM system or an assistive listening device with their hearing aid, they may be able to use that same receiver with the SONNET processor. So that's pretty convenient. That standard input jack just makes it really simple. So you can see here that, for example, if it was something that took a cable with just a standard 3.5 millimeter jack that you would put into like an MP3 player, that just plugs into the cover on the bottom of the SONNET and then right into your external device. I mentioned a remote control. So the SONNET does have most of its control on the remote. We call our remote the Fine Tuner remote control, and it is incredibly small and lightweight. It's about the size of a credit card, so it fits very easily in any pocket or purse. And I will say that a lot of users, once they get used to their equipment and they have a map or a program on their processor that they like, they don't even necessarily need that Fine Tuner remote anymore. And so they may not even use it or carry it around with them all the time. It is very simple and straightforward. It does not need a bunch of instructions or a manual. It has easy to use buttons. There's no menus or codes that you have to figure out. All of the buttons are large enough to see and push and have symbols that are very user-friendly. Your audiologist doesn't have to connect that remote control to the computer and program it in any way. So it's just really easy to use and doesn't even necessarily have to be with you all the time. One of the things that MED-EL is working very hard on is sound coding or signal processing that is good for listening to music. We want to make music as pleasant for people who have cochlear implants as possible. So that's part of where that fine hearing or fine structure processing that I mentioned comes in. This processes sound in such a way that it hopefully makes music more natural. The goal is really to mimic how the normal hearing ear works, and if we're able to do that, then hopefully sounds will be as natural and normal as possible. So these are some of the things that users have said in the past, that listening to music was pleasant. They described the fullness of music as better or much better when they were using that fine hearing. They said that it sounds more natural, and they were even able to recognize individual instruments if they knew the song that they were listening to. Now, there's never any guarantees with hearing aids or cochlear implants, but this is just an area of research and development that's very important to MED-EL. The SONNET audio processor just takes two batteries. They look a lot like hearing aid batteries. They're the larger size. They're a size 675, and the ones that last the longest are zinc air batteries. And for cochlear implants, we always recommend that you use the high power zinc air batteries, because that will give you more consistent power and longer battery life. With the SONNET processor, you should get up to 60 hours of use with just two of those zinc air batteries. We have a number of troubleshooting tools to help you verify that all of your equipment is working the way that it's supposed to. The SONNET audio processor has a multicolor indicator light on it. It can show red lights and green lights, and you might guess that red lights are telling you that there might be a problem or an error, and green lights, of course, are good. So they're usually telling you that everything is working correctly with your equipment. We also have a little sound check device that we call a speech processor test device. So as long as those lights are telling you that everything is good, then you can use this speech processor test device to double check that the cable and the coil are okay as well. Like I said, those cables just kind of break sometimes. So I often recommend that you just kind of use this device every morning when you turn your equipment on to make sure that that cable is still good before you get going on your day. We also have a number of interactive tools and videos that are available to help you learn more about your equipment and troubleshoot if you seem to be having any problems with your equipment. So this is just a picture of our troubleshooting guide that's available right on our website. It's an interactive step-by-step guide that has examples to help you figure out what part of your system may have a problem. It also includes easy how-to videos describing different things like putting the processor together, changing the batteries, and what those different indicator lights on the processor mean. That troubleshooting guide is also available in an app for your smartphones. It can be downloaded from the App Store for iPhones or Google Play for Android phones. And again, this helps to easily handle common questions about your external equipment. It has comprehensive tips and tricks for different daily tasks and operation of your equipment. It has those integrated videos, and those even include subtitles. And the app also has a clinic finder in case you need to find a clinic near your location. And it provides direct access to our social media pages, such as Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. We also have a variety of topics on our website under the support section. Our website is www.medel.com, and it has suggestions for maximizing communication, so learning to listen with your cochlear implant, and some things that you can do to practice listening and speaking. It has tips for listening to music and using the telephone. It also has information about connecting to external assistive listening devices. We also have an entire program that we call the Bridge program that has materials for learning to listen and for children learning to develop spoken language. And part of that are some online games that we call Soundscape. And those online games are broken down into age ranges, all the way from the youngest children up through adults. So those are some fun interactive games that you can use to practice listening with your implant on our website. And then there's a lot of resources that are available that you can even download from the website. So there are different guides that you can read through that help you understand and use your equipment. Medel provides the longest warranty on our equipment that's available today. The external equipment is covered under a basic manufacturer's warranty for 5 years. This includes the audio processor, the coils, the battery packs, the cables. In the case of the Opus processors, our rechargeable batteries. It includes the fine-tuner remote control. And next we're going to talk about our RONDO single unit audio processor. The internal implant continues to have a 10-year manufacturer's warranty. So hopefully we've got you covered inside and out. I mentioned at the very beginning a WaterWear accessory, and we just mentioned the RONDO single unit audio processor. So those things actually go together. The RONDO audio processor is not brand new. The WaterWear accessory is. But since a lot of you, or maybe all of you, don't know what the RONDO processor is yet, I thought I would just start with a quick overview of the processor itself. So the RONDO is the name of MED-EL's single unit audio processor. It's actually the first of its kind in the whole world. You can see this is the whole thing right here. It's an all-in-one processor. It doesn't have any cables or extra parts. It's, like I said, all-in-one. It uses the same fine-tuner remote control, and the battery pack, the coil, and the batteries, everything that's needed is in that one compact design. So again, it doesn't have any cables, and there's fewer parts that you have to keep track of and troubleshoot and so forth. So it's pretty simple to wear. It disappears easily under long hair. You can see it's blending in right here, and she even has her hair up. And it's especially comfortable for people who wear glasses. I wear glasses all the time, and so I know that having more than one thing on your ear can be kind of uncomfortable. So a lot of people who wear glasses like this option. Right now, MED-EL is actually running a special where we give every new user a free RONDO. So you get to pick the processors that come in your patient kit, just like everyone else. But for right now, in addition to the processors and the equipment you pick, we give you an extra free RONDO audio processor. So that's actually a really great deal. Because it's fairly new, we just wanted everyone to get a chance to try it out. It's different than anything that's ever been out there before, since it's this new all-in-one design. And so we wanted to give people a chance to try it without necessarily having to pick just that one option right away. Now we can talk about the WaterWear accessory that is available for that RONDO audio processor. This is a cover that fits over the RONDO processor and actually makes it fully waterproof. So you can even swim in it and it will not be damaged by water. So this provides complete protection from freshwater, saltwater, and chlorinated pools. I mentioned that IP rating earlier, that's sort of that rating of dust and water protection for different electronics. And the RONDO with the WaterWear accessory on it has an IP rating of 68. And this is actually the highest rating for these two values that there are. 6 is actually the protection from dust, and 8 is the protection from water, and those are the highest numbers for each of those values. So it's completely waterproof and dust dirt proof when that WaterWear accessory is in place. Now the WaterWear cover is completely airtight, so that it is waterproof, which means you actually have to use a different kind of battery. Normally, hearing devices use zinc air batteries, but because zinc air batteries need air to work, there are other options that you use with this airtight cover, and those would be silver oxide batteries or alkaline batteries. They don't last as long as the zinc air batteries, so they would just be specifically for when you're wearing that WaterWear cover for using your processor in the water. The cover is very thin and actually doesn't change the sound quality of your processor. The sound actually goes through that cover really easily, and it doesn't require any different programming or anything else. You just put the cover on and then it's waterproof and you're good to go. The WaterWear kit actually includes 3 covers, which is the part that goes on the top, and each of those covers can be used up to 3 times. And then on the bottom side of the RONDO, you put an adhesive seal that actually seals the cover in place to keep it waterproof. And so the kit includes 9 of those adhesive seals for the bottom, and those are one-time use only. But with 3 covers that can be used 3 times and 9 seals, each kit includes 9 uses of the WaterWear accessory. I also want to mention briefly our online community for hearing implant users. In addition to our typical social media pages like Facebook and Twitter and YouTube, we have a website that's called HearPeers.com. This is just a place where you can connect with people using chat, posts, and emails. You can share videos, photos, and stories. You can get tips and tricks and troubleshooting advice from other users. You can stay up to date on local events that might be near you and stay informed with Med-El news. So this is actually sharing of information from one implant user to another. So a lot of times for people who are considering getting a cochlear implant, they really want to talk to someone who's been there and done that. And so this gives people a way to share their personal stories and things that they learn along the way. And that's actually everything that I wanted to share with you for tonight. I'm sure that you guys have had questions. We asked you to type all of those into the chat box. So if you have any questions left that I haven't answered yet, please feel free to go ahead and type those into the chat box, and we'll go ahead and get started on trying to answer all of those questions.
Thanks, Amy. That was great. I learned a lot, and we do have a couple of questions, and I have a couple of my own. So I'm going to start with Tony in Michigan. Tony asks, is this approved for 3.0 Tesla, but the image is distorted even at 1.5 T? How bad did the image look with the old magnet design?
That's a really good question. And actually, the distortion that the magnet causes right around the implant is about the same with the old magnet design and the new magnet design. It's just that our old magnet design was intended to always stay in place. So that one could be scanned up to 1.5 Tesla, and the magnet would always remain in place. The new magnet design allows you to have those MRI scans at the higher strength, the 3.0 Tesla, and it's a removable design just in case what they need to scan is right around the implant where the magnet can cause that distortion. But a lot of MRI scans are of knees or backs or things that aren't anywhere near the implant magnet, and so of course the magnet wouldn't cause distortion of any of those kinds of MRI scans of other areas of the body.
Great, that was a great explanation. Tony from Michigan also asks, is there smartphone connectivity that would eliminate the need for a remote?
That's also a really good question. So right now, one of the best ways to connect to a smartphone that uses Bluetooth is with a neck loop accessory. So none of the cochlear implant processors that are available right now include their own Bluetooth receiver, because Bluetooth receivers are really power hungry. So they take so much power that the tiny external processors can't power the Bluetooth receiver. So all of them require some sort of accessory that will take the Bluetooth signal from the smartphone and then send that to the telecoil in the processor. And the second part of your question about the remote control, was very observant. You do need the remote control to activate the telecoil. So that is one condition where you would want to keep your remote control with you if you use a telecoil set up with a neck loop accessory for Bluetooth from your smartphone. Really, a lot of users will actually just hold their smartphone up over the microphone on their processor and use it just like anyone else would. You don't always have to use the telecoil or any accessories to use a telephone with an audio processor.
Great, thanks. Lori, number 2, wants to know, what is the overall cost of this new implant versus an older type implant?
That's a really good question as well. Obviously, as a brand new system, the cost is a little bit higher than older systems, but not significantly. And hospitals are all different. And of course, we sell to the hospitals, and then the hospital sells that kit to the patient. So I can never say for sure what the price is going to be from one hospital to the next. But the cost that we charge hospitals is more than the older implant, but not significantly more.
Thanks, Amy. Judy wants to know, I am a single hearing due to a tumor removal. If this doesn't work, will I lose what hearing I have?
That's a very good question, and that's one of the reasons that MED-EL puts such importance on being what I called atraumatic, and that means causing as little trauma or damage as possible. There are no guarantees, though, unfortunately. We do have a very soft, flexible design that is intended to cause as little damage as possible to those inner structures, but there's no guarantee how much damage will be done in the process of inserting a cochlear implant. So it sounds like you're going to have potentially surgery to remove a tumor, and then if that doesn't work, you might end up getting a cochlear implant. So really, the cochlear implant is designed to take the place of the inner ear and do its job for it, but what comes after the inner ear is the nerve. So you've got some really good questions that I would recommend you talk to your surgeon about and your audiologist. They'll know your case and your history better than anyone else, and so oftentimes I suggest that patients ask some of those really good questions of the doctor and the audiologist.
Amy, we have lots of questions, so let's keep going. Pat, and you talked about this already a little bit, but Pat wants to know, does Bluetooth cause batteries not to last as long?
That's a great question, and it shouldn't, because like I said, there's no Bluetooth receiver in the processor because it requires so much power, it's just not even feasible right now. So you would be connecting to Bluetooth using the telecoil, and the telecoil is not going to reduce battery life.
Right. Good answer. Renee wants to know, how many of these devices are currently in use?
Oh, that's a great question, and I can't even keep up with the numbers. I'm sure that there have already been thousands implanted around the world. You may or may not be aware that all of these devices are regulated in the U.S. by the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, and the FDA has very high standards. So a lot of times these devices will get approved in the US later than the rest of the world. So this device has been implanted all over the world longer than it's been available in the US, but we have hundreds of patients being implanted every month in the US. So that number just keeps going up and up.
Great, thanks. Leon wants to know, I've been activated for 3 years now with the Opus 2. The Synchrony would obviously require an additional surgery. Is that correct?
To get a different internal device would require another surgery, but the good news is that you wouldn't need to necessarily replace the internal part. Right now you're using the Opus, so you could at least still use the new external part. MED-EL always makes sure that our equipment is both backward and forward compatible. So even the first MED-EL implant patients in the US could use the SONNET audio processor. So you could consider the SONNET audio processor and the RONDO audio processor for the external part. And really, the internal part, the difference between our last implant and the Synchrony is just that different internal magnet design that makes things a little bit easier in terms of MRI. So hopefully you wouldn't need a lot of MRIs, but even if you do, our last implant design is approved at 0.2 and 1.5 Tesla with the magnet in place.
Good, thanks. People have a lot of questions about batteries. Heather wants to know, is there an option for rechargeable batteries?
That's a good question and a very popular one. The SONNET is brand new, so our rechargeable battery for the SONNET is not out yet. But what we're doing instead, because we know that's so popular, is that patients who are getting the SONNET audio processor right now are getting a voucher in their patient kit so that as soon as that rechargeable battery option is available, they can turn in that voucher to get the rechargeable batteries free.
Great, thanks. Nicole wants to know, my son was implanted with bilateral Opuses 3 years ago. He is not up for his upgrade for another 2 years. Should we invest in purchasing the SONNET or wait? And the second part of that question is MED-EL doing any promotions for current users for the RONDO, considering that they're being given away for free to new users?
I would absolutely give MED-EL a call. You can talk specifically to your regional customer service specialist, and they have the most up-to-date information about any upgrades or specials that we might be running. I will say that the Opus 2 is also an excellent processor. It does a lot of the things that the SONNET does. So if you do end up waiting just 2 more years to upgrade, then you'll get some additional things like the water resistance and things like that. But by no means should you discount the Opus 2 because it's excellent technology as well. Like I said, our customer service department is always up to date on those specials and upgrades. So don't hesitate to give them a call and ask what's currently available.
Thanks. Pauline from Colorado would like to know, can you discuss implanting in your better ear versus the one with worst hearing? I'd feel much safer implanting in my worst ear.
That's a very good, very common question and a very common feeling. And really, there's been a lot of research and a lot of professionals that feel both ways. I can't say from a Med-El perspective that one is better than the other. So again, that's one of those things that I would really refer back to your doctor and your audiologist. Now, if I take off my Med-El hat for a second and put on my audiology hat, when I was helping patients make those decisions in the clinic, we would say that the ear that has had better hearing kind of has a jump start. So it has sometimes a better chance at doing well with the cochlear implant than the ear that has worse hearing. But again, like I said, the research goes both ways. So it's not a right or wrong decision necessarily. And your audiologist and your doctor can help you think through all of the different scenarios. But if I put on my audiology hat for just a second, that was what I used to counsel my patients, was that the ear with better hearing may have a better chance with the implant after surgery.
Thanks, Amy. Well, we have now gone through all of the questions that are in the chat box, and it's about 2 minutes before 9. So I think we're going to conclude our webinar for tonight. Again, I want to thank everyone for being on the call tonight. I want to thank Jody for the great job she did with providing us CART tonight. And above all else, I want to thank Amy for a great presentation. I hope everyone has a lovely rest of the evening, and I hope that you will come back to our website at hearingloss.org and look up the other webinars that we have on the schedule, because we have a lot more exciting webinars coming up in the near future. Good evening, everyone, and thank you again for joining us.
Thanks so much, everyone. Thanks, Anna. Thanks, Jody.
Thank you. Good night.